My name is Celeste Murphy. I'm 67 years old, and 3 nights ago, I discovered something that changed everything I thought I knew about my own family. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you'd give them everything? Have you ever loved someone so much that you'd ignore every red flag? Well, I did. And it almost destroyed me. Picture this. It's 2 a.m., and I'm standing in the dark hallway of my son's house, holding my breath, listening to words that felt like knives in my heart. She has to go, Marcus. Tomorrow morning. That was Bryn, my daughter-in-law, speaking in hushed tones from the kitchen. I know, but what if she fights it? My son's voice was shaking. She won't. Not after we put the pills in her coffee. By noon, she'll be so confused. The nursing home will take her immediately. My legs nearly gave out. Pills? Nursing home? I pressed my back against the wall, my heart hammering so loud I was sure they'd hear it. And then we get everything? Bryn asked. All 400,000. The house, the pension, everything Dad left her. She signed those papers last month thinking they were insurance forms. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. Harold, my dear husband who died 8 months ago, had warned me about Marcus. That boy's got expensive taste and cheap morals, he'd said. I thought he was being too harsh. I was wrong. What about the coffee? Bryn whispered. Already ground up the sleeping pills. 3 should do it. Make her nice and drowsy for the evaluator. Do you know what it feels like to realize your own child wants to drug you? To steal everything you've worked for? To throw you away like garbage? I had exactly 6 hours before they'd try to destroy my life. 6 hours to figure out how to survive. But here's what Marcus and Bryn didn't know about their sweet, helpless mother-in-law. I wasn't helpless at all. The floorboards creaked under my bare feet as I crept back to my room. Every sound felt like thunder. Every breath felt like betrayal. My hands shook as I pulled out the small suitcase from under my bed. Harold's voice echoed in my memory. Celeste, always have a go bag ready. You never know when life will surprise you. I packed fast but smart. Birth certificate, social security card, the real will Harold left me, and the $3,000 I kept hidden in my jewelry box. Marcus thought I was a typical confused old lady who couldn't handle money. He was about to learn otherwise. The clock showed 2:47 a.m. I had to move. I slipped on my tennis shoes and grabbed my purse. My heart was beating so fast I thought it might wake the whole house. Through the thin walls, I could hear Bryn laughing. Laughing. While planning to destroy my life. Have you ever felt so betrayed that your whole body went cold? That's exactly how I felt walking down those stairs, knowing I might never see my son again. Not the real Marcus, anyway. The man upstairs wasn't the boy I raised. The front door felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The lock clicked so loud I froze, waiting for footsteps. Silence. The night air hit my face like freedom. I made it to my car, hands trembling as I fumbled for the keys. Then I heard the worst sound in the world. Nothing. The engine wouldn't start. I turned the key again. And again. The starter clicked weakly, then died completely. Through the kitchen window, I saw a light come on. They were awake. Car trouble. I nearly jumped out of my skin. An elderly man stood at the fence between our yards, holding a steaming coffee cup. Even in the darkness, I recognized him as Ezra, the neighbor who'd moved in last spring. My voice cracked. I need to leave. Now. Ezra looked at the house, then back at me. His gray eyes were sharp, alert. Marcus and Bryn giving you problems? How did he know? Pop the hood, he said simply. I did. He disappeared into his garage and returned with a toolbox. Within minutes, he had jumper cables connected to his truck. Battery's been disconnected, he said quietly. Someone didn't want this car starting. My blood turned to ice. They'd planned this. They'd made sure I couldn't escape. Why are you helping me? I whispered. Ezra's weathered hands worked efficiently. Because I've been watching. And I don't like what I've been seeing. The engine roared to life. Follow me to my guest house, he said. We need to talk. Do you know someone who's been there for you when no one else was? Ezra was becoming that person for me. His guest house was small but warm. He poured coffee with steady hands while I tried to stop shaking. "How long have you known?" I asked. "3 months. I saw Marcus going through your mail. Saw him taking papers from your car. My late wife went through something similar with her nephew." "What happened to her?" His face darkened. "She didn't get out in time." We sat in silence as reality hit me. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't confused. I was in real danger. "There's something else," Ezra said. "I'm a retired lawyer. And if what I suspect is true, your son has committed several felonies." Hope flickered in my chest for the first time in hours. Then we heard car doors slamming outside. Marcus was calling my name.
"Mom."
"Where are you?" Marcus's voice echoed through the neighborhood. Through Ezra's window, I watched my son pace frantically in the driveway, still in his pajamas. Bryn stood beside him, phone pressed to her ear. Even from 50 yards away, I could see her perfectly styled hair, her expensive silk robe. She looked more annoyed than worried. "She's calling the police," Ezra whispered. My stomach dropped. "What do I do?" "Stay calm. Let me handle this." 911? "Yes, we need to report a missing person. My mother-in-law has dementia, and she's wandered off." "Dementia?" The word hit me like a slap. Bryn was telling the operator I had dementia, setting up her story, making me sound helpless and confused. Have you ever watched someone destroy your reputation with one phone call? It's terrifying how easy it is. Red and blue lights appeared at the end of the street. "Mrs. Murphy," Ezra said softly, "I need you to listen carefully. They're going to say you're confused, that you don't know what's real. Are you prepared to fight for your sanity?" I thought about Harold, about the 43 years we spent building our life together, about the money we saved penny by penny, about the house we bought with our first tax refund. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready to fight." 2 police officers got out of their car. Marcus ran toward them, gesturing wildly. "My mother-in-law disappeared. She has dementia. She gets confused at night." Officer Rodriguez, according to his name tag, looked tired. His partner, Officer Chen, took notes. "How long has she been missing?" Rodriguez asked. "We just discovered her room was empty. She took some clothes, but left her medication behind." I had to admire Marcus's acting skills. He sounded genuinely worried. "Has she wandered off before?" Bryn stepped forward. "All the time. Last week we found her at the grocery store at midnight, trying to buy cat food. We don't even have a cat." That was a complete lie. But the officers believed it. "We'll check the area," Chen said. "Do you have a recent photo?" As they organized their search, Ezra squeezed my hand. "They're about to knock on every door," he warned, including his. The knock came exactly 12 minutes later. Ezra had prepared me. I was hidden in his basement, behind boxes of legal files and old furniture. The space smelled like dust and forgotten memories. "Good morning, officers." Ezra's voice carried down the stairs. "Sorry to bother you, sir. We're looking for an elderly woman, about 5 feet 4 inches, gray hair, wearing a blue nightgown." "Celeste Murphy?" My heart stopped. How did he know to use my name? "You know her?" "Lovely lady. Haven't seen her tonight, though." "Is she all right?" Officer Rodriguez sighed. "Her family says she has dementia. She wandered off around 3 a.m. That's terrible. She always seemed so sharp when we talked over the fence." There was a pause. I imagined the officers exchanging glances. "When did you last speak with her?" Chen asked. "Yesterday afternoon. She was asking about property taxes, wanted to understand her assessment. Very detailed questions. Didn't seem confused at all." Another pause. "We'll keep looking. Here's my card if you see anything." I heard the door close. Footsteps overhead. Then Ezra's voice calling down. "Coast is clear." I climbed upstairs on shaking legs. "That was brilliant," I said. "You planted doubt about the dementia story." Ezra's expression was grim. "Celeste, we have a bigger problem." He showed me his laptop screen. He'd been researching while I hid. I looked up Marcus's business license. His restaurant has been losing money for 2 years. He owes back taxes, supplier debts, loan payments. My chest tightened. How much? $430,000. The exact amount of my inheritance. There's more, Ezra continued. I found the paperwork you signed last month. It wasn't insurance forms. He pulled up a document on his screen. My signature was at the bottom, but the words above it made my blood freeze. Power of attorney. You gave Marcus complete control over your finances. The room spun around me. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. But that means he can access your bank accounts, your pension, everything. My phone buzzed with a text message from Marcus. Mom, please come home. We're worried sick. I made your favorite breakfast, but I knew the truth now. He hadn't made breakfast. He'd made poison. Have you ever realized that everything you thought you knew was a lie? That moment when the puzzle pieces finally click together and the picture they make is terrifying? That's exactly where I was sitting in Ezra's kitchen, staring at legal documents that proved my son had been stealing from me for months. We need help, Ezra said, reaching for his phone. I'm calling Sage. Who's Sage? My lawyer friend. She specializes in elder abuse cases. His fingers moved quickly across the screen. Sage? It's Ezra. I need you to come over immediately. We have a situation. While we waited, Ezra showed me bank statements he'd printed. My checking account, my savings, even Harold's pension fund. All of it had been slowly drained. Look at these dates, he pointed. Every withdrawal matches days when Marcus visited you alone. I felt sick. He said he was helping me balance my checkbook. He was helping himself to your money. The doorbell rang. Sage turned out to be a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s with silver hair and a no-nonsense attitude. Show me everything, she said. We spread the documents across Ezra's dining table. Sage's expression grew darker with each page. This is financial elder abuse, she said finally. Multiple felonies. We can stop this, but we need to act fast. How fast? I asked. He's probably at the bank right now, trying to clean out your remaining accounts. My phone rang. Marcus again. Don't answer, Sage warned. But I did anyway. Mom, where are you? People are worried. Mrs. Henderson from down the street saw police cars. I could hear Bryn coaching him in the background. I'm fine, Marcus. You sound confused. Come home so we can take care of you. The words take care of felt like a threat now. I'll be home soon, I lied. After I hung up, Sage's phone buzzed with an alert. That was fast, she muttered, reading her screen. Marcus just tried to withdraw $15,000 from your savings account. The bank flagged it as suspicious. Relief flooded through me. So we stopped him? Sage's face went pale. No. He's getting a court order. Emergency conservatorship. What does that mean? It means by tomorrow morning, you'll legally have no rights to your own money. Do you know what it's like to watch your freedom disappear in real time? To realize someone you love has been planning your destruction for months? I was about to find out it got worse. The doorbell rang again. Bryn stood on Ezra's doorstep, holding a plate of cookies and wearing her sweetest smile. Hi there. Bryn's voice was honey-sweet as she peered past Ezra. I'm Celeste's daughter-in-law. We've been so worried about her. Have you ever seen a predator pretend to be prey? That's exactly what I was watching through the kitchen window. Ezra kept his body blocking the doorway. She's not here. Oh. Bryn's smile flickered. The thing is, Celeste has been having some episodes lately. Memory problems. We found her wandering around at 3 a.m., completely disoriented. That's concerning, Ezra said calmly. I crept closer to listen, my heart hammering against my ribs. Marcus is beside himself with worry. We just want to make sure she's safe. Bryn stepped closer. You haven't seen her, have you? Like I told police, no. Bryn's eyes scanned over Ezra's shoulder, searching. Would you mind if I checked your backyard? Sometimes confused elderly people hide in strange places. I'm afraid I do mind. The sweet mask slipped for just a second. I saw something cold and calculating flash across her face. Of course, she said, smile returning. Here, I brought these for you. Marcus's grandmother's recipe. She handed him the plate of cookies. After she left, Sage examined the cookies with a magnifying glass. Smart thinking not eating these, she said. There are pill fragments mixed into the chocolate chips. My blood turned to ice. She tried to drug him too? They're covering all their bases. Ezra checked his security cameras on his phone. She planted something on my truck while we were talking. The screen showed Bryn placing a small device under his bumper. GPS tracker, Sage identified. They're not just looking for you anymore, Celeste. They're hunting you. Do you know what it feels like to be prey in your own family? To realize the people who should protect you are the ones trying to destroy you? We have to move, Sage said.
Now.
Where can we go? My office has a safe room. We can. Her phone buzzed. Then mine. Then Ezra's. All at the same time. What does that mean? I asked. Sage's face went white as she read her screen. They got the court order. Marcus is now your legal guardian. The room spun around me. But how? He had a doctor declare you mentally incompetent. Based on police reports from tonight. What police reports? Sage showed me her phone. Missing person report filed by family. Subject shows signs of dementia, confusion, erratic behavior. I stared at the official document. My son had just legally erased me as a person. So what happens now? Now Marcus has the right to make all decisions about your money, your medical care, even where you live. Through the window, I saw police cars pulling up again. But this time, they weren't looking for a missing person. They were coming to take me away. Back door. Now. Sage grabbed my arm as red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Have you ever had to run from the very people who were supposed to protect you? That's what we were doing as police officers knocked on Ezra's front door. We slipped out through his garden gate and into Sage's car parked on the next street. My hands shook as we drove through the pre-dawn darkness. Where are we going? I whispered. Somewhere safe. My law office has a secure room for domestic violence victims. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was fleeing domestic violence from my own son. Sage's office was a converted house in the old part of town. She led us to a small apartment in the back, complete with a bed, kitchenette, and deadbolt locks. No one knows about this room except my staff, she said. You'll be safe here. For the first time in hours, I could breathe. Ezra made coffee, while Sage pulled up files on her laptop. Let's figure out how deep this goes. The truth was devastating. Marcus had been planning this for over a year. Bank records showed systematic withdrawals. Medical records had been falsified. Even my own doctor had been told I was showing signs of dementia. Dr. Peterson never said that. I protested. No, but Marcus told Dr. Peterson that you were saying that, Sage explained. Classic manipulation. He turned your own medical team against you. Do you know what it's like to discover that your entire support system has been compromised? That people you trusted have been fed lies about you for months? There's more, Sage continued. I pulled the nursing home application. Marcus filled it out 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. My voice cracked. He's been telling everyone you have rapidly progressing dementia. Your neighbors, your church friends, even your bank manager. Ezra squeezed my hand. That's why Mrs. Henderson looked at you so strangely last week. It all made sense now. The pitying looks. The way people talked to me like I was a child. Marcus had systematically destroyed my reputation before making his move. But we have evidence now, I said. We can prove he's lying. Sage's expression was grim. Evidence might not be enough. He has a court order signed by Judge Morrison. So, what do? We fight back. But first, we need to document everything. Your mental state, your capacity to make decisions, your awareness of what's happening. She set up a video camera. Tell your story, Celeste. All of it. Make sure the world knows who you really are. I looked into that camera and began to speak. About Harold. About working as a teacher for 35 years. About raising Marcus as a single mom after his father left. About saving every penny for retirement. About discovering my own son wanted to steal it all. When I finished, there were tears in Sage's eyes. That was powerful, she said. But we need more than testimony. We need proof that Marcus forged documents. Ezra held up his phone. I might have something. The screen showed security footage from the bank yesterday. Marcus walking in with a briefcase. Marcus meeting with a bank manager. Marcus signing papers. I know someone who works there, Ezra said. She might be willing to talk. Sage's phone rang. Her face went pale as she answered. When? She hung up quickly. What's wrong? I asked. Judge Morrison just signed an emergency order. Marcus is coming here with police backup. My heart stopped. How did they find us? I don't know, but we have maybe 10 minutes before they arrive. Through the window, I could already see headlights turning onto our street. There's a service tunnel in the basement, Sage whispered, grabbing files from her desk. It connects to the building next door. Can you imagine being 67 years old and crawling through a dusty tunnel to escape your own family? That's exactly what I was doing as police sirens wailed outside. The tunnel was narrow and dark. Ezra helped me navigate the rough concrete while Sage secured evidence behind us. We emerged in the basement of an old bookstore, gasping and covered in dust. My friend owns this place, Sage explained, leading us upstairs. She's out of town, but I have keys. Through the bookstore windows, we watched police cars surround Sage's office building. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, pointing and gesturing angrily. He looks desperate, Ezra observed. Good. Desperate people make mistakes, Sage said, setting up her laptop on the counter. Now we have 12 hours to gather enough evidence to overturn that court order. 12 hours. That's when the competency hearing is scheduled. If we can't prove Marcus lied, you'll be declared mentally incompetent permanently. The weight of those words hit me. 12 hours to prove my sanity. 12 hours to save my life. Have you ever had to fight for something as basic as your own identity? Your own right to exist as a person? Sage's phone buzzed with a text from her bank contact. Good news. Maria agrees to meet us. She has copies of the documents Marcus submitted. What kind of documents? I asked. Medical evaluations, psychiatric assessments, proof of your supposed dementia. We met Maria in a 24-hour diner across town. She was a thin woman in her 40s with nervous eyes and careful hands. I shouldn't be doing this, she said, sliding a folder across the table. But what Marcus is doing isn't right. I opened the folder and nearly gasped. Inside were medical reports I'd never seen. Psychiatric evaluations from doctors I'd never met. Test results for conditions I'd never been tested for. These are all fake, I breathed. Not fake, Maria corrected. Forged. He took real letterheads from real doctors and created false reports. Sage examined the documents with a magnifying glass. These signatures don't match. Look at the pressure patterns, the ink variations. Can you prove it in court? I asked. With handwriting analysis, yes. But we need the original documents Marcus used as templates. Maria shifted uncomfortably. There's something else. Marcus offered me money to backdate these transactions by 6 months. You mean make it look like he's been managing my accounts longer than he has? Exactly. He wanted to create a paper trail showing progressive mental decline. Do you know what it feels like to watch someone systematically erase your existence? To see them rewrite your entire medical history to fit their lies? I recorded our conversation, Maria added quietly. She played audio on her phone. Marcus's voice was clear. I need this to look like she's been getting worse for months. Can you backdate the withdrawals to January? That's illegal, Mr. Murphy. My mother won't remember anyway. She can barely remember what she had for breakfast. I wanted to scream. Or cry. Or both. There's more, Maria continued. He's been meeting with nursing home administrators, specifically asking about patients with no family visitors. What does that mean? Ezra asked. Sage's face was grim. It means once he got her committed, he planned to abandon her there. The diner felt like it was spinning around me. We have enough evidence now, Sage said firmly. Medical fraud, financial elder abuse, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. So we can stop the hearing? We can try. But Marcus has one advantage we didn't expect. She showed me her phone screen. A news article from that morning. Local teacher's family seeks help for missing mother with dementia. complete with my photo and quotes from Marcus about how much he loved me. He's already won public opinion, Sage said. The judge will be sympathetic to a worried son trying to protect his confused mother.
My phone rang.
The caller ID made my blood freeze. Judge Morrison's office. Mrs. Murphy? This is the courthouse. We need to inform you that your competency hearing has been moved up to 9 a.m. this morning. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30 a.m. We had 90 minutes to save my life. But when we got to the courthouse, Marcus was already there with 3 lawyers and a doctor I'd never seen before. The courtroom felt like a trap. Marcus sat at the plaintiff's table with his legal team, looking like the perfect worried son in his navy suit and concerned expression. Have you ever walked into a room where everyone already believed you were crazy? Where your own family was trying to convince a judge that you didn't deserve basic human rights? That's exactly what I faced as Judge Morrison called the hearing to order. This is an emergency competency evaluation for Celeste Murphy, the judge announced. Mr. Murphy, please state your case. Marcus's lawyer stood up. A polished woman in an expensive suit who spoke like she was delivering a eulogy. Your Honor, Mrs. Murphy suffers from rapidly progressing dementia. She's become a danger to herself and others. Last night, she disappeared from her home in the middle of the night, leaving behind all her medication. I wanted to scream that there was no medication to leave behind. She's been found wandering confused on multiple occasions, the lawyer continued. Her own doctor has documented significant cognitive decline. Dr. Warner, who I'd never met in my life, stood up to testify. Mrs. Murphy shows classic signs of advancing dementia. Memory loss, confusion, paranoid delusions about family members trying to harm her. Paranoid delusions? I whispered to Sage. She squeezed my hand. Let them finish. Then we destroy them. Marcus took the stand, tears actually forming in his eyes. Your Honor, I love my mother. She raised me alone after my father left. But she's not the same person anymore. Do you know what it's like to watch someone you raised from birth lie about you in court? To see them perform grief for a person who's sitting right there? She accused me of stealing from her, Marcus continued. She says I'm trying to poison her coffee. These paranoid episodes are getting worse. And you're seeking guardianship to protect her? Judge Morrison asked. I just want what's best for Mom. Professional care, medication management, a safe environment. The judge looked at me with pity. Mrs. Murphy, do you understand why you're here? I stood up slowly. Every eye in the courtroom was on me. Yes, Your Honor. I'm here because my son wants to steal my money. A murmur ran through the courtroom. And I have proof. Sage stood beside me. Your Honor, we have evidence of financial elder abuse, medical fraud, and conspiracy. She presented the forged documents, the bank recordings, the testimony from Maria. These medical reports are fabricated, she announced. Mrs. Murphy has never seen these doctors. These signatures are forged. Marcus's face went pale, but his lawyer objected. Your Honor, Mrs. Murphy has clearly manipulated these people into believing her paranoid delusions. Then explain this, Sage said, playing Maria's recording. Marcus's voice filled the courtroom. I need this to look like she's been getting worse for months. The change in Marcus's expression was instant. Panic replaced confidence. That's taken out of context, his lawyer protested. What context makes financial fraud acceptable? Sage shot back. Judge Morrison studied the documents carefully. Dr. Warner, can you explain why your signature appears on reports for a patient you've never examined? Dr. Warner's face flushed red. There must be some mistake. The mistake, Sage said, is thinking you could commit elder abuse and get away with it. Marcus finally broke. You don't understand, he shouted, jumping to his feet. She's got $400,000 just sitting there while my business is failing. She's old. She doesn't need it. The courtroom erupted. Judge Morrison slammed his gavel. Mr. Murphy, you've just confessed to attempted financial elder abuse in my courtroom. But then Bryn stood up from a gallery. He's protecting all of us, she announced. Because there's something everyone needs to know about St. Celeste Murphy. My heart stopped. She's not the victim here. She's been planning this whole thing from the beginning. Have you ever watched your world turn completely upside down in a single moment? That's what happened when Bryn stood up in that courtroom and pointed her perfectly manicured finger at me. Celeste Murphy isn't some helpless old lady, Bryn announced to the packed courtroom. She's been manipulating everyone from day one. Judge Morrison banged his gavel. Mrs. Murphy, you're out of order. No, Your Honor, she's out of order. Bryn's voice rose. Ask her about the fake medical bills. Ask her about the insurance fraud. Ask her why she's been pretending to be sicker than she is. My mouth fell open. What are you talking about? The cancer treatments that never happened. The prescription medications she never took. The disability checks she's been collecting for conditions she doesn't have. Sage jumped to her feet. Your Honor, there's no evidence of any of this. Because she's smart, Bryn shot back. She played the grieving widow perfectly. Poor Celeste, all alone, needs help managing her money. Meanwhile, she's been running scams for years. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. I felt every eye judging me, weighing Bryn's words against everything they thought they knew. That's when I realized what kind of person my mother-in-law really was, Bryn continued. Marcus was just trying to protect our family from her schemes. Do you know what it feels like to watch someone rewrite history in real time? To see them paint you as the villain in your own story? Marcus stared at Bryn like he'd never seen her before. Bryn, what are you doing? He whispered. But she was on a roll now, pacing in front of the judge like a prosecutor. She convinced Marcus to give her power of attorney by pretending to be confused about finances. Then she started moving money around, hiding assets, setting up offshore accounts. That's completely false. I stood up, my voice shaking with rage. Is it? Bryn pulled out her phone. Because I have bank statements showing wire transfers to the Cayman Islands. All authorized by you, Celeste. Sage examined the documents. Her face went pale. These appear to be legitimate, she whispered. My heart stopped. But I never authorized any transfers. I don't even know how to do wire transfers. Of course you don't, Bryn smiled coldly. Because you had Marcus do it for you. You told him it was for tax purposes. Marcus's face crumbled as he realized what was happening. Bryn, he said quietly, those transfers were your idea. You said we needed to move Mom's money somewhere safe. The mask finally slipped completely. Shut up, Marcus, Bryn hissed. But it was too late. The truth was spilling out like water through a broken dam. You told me Mom was getting confused and people might try to take advantage of her, Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. You said we should move her money offshore to protect it. Do you know what it's like to watch someone realize they've been played? To see the moment when love turns to horror? Marcus looked at his wife like she was a stranger. You've been using me, he breathed. This whole thing, the nursing home, the competency hearing, all of it was your plan. Bryn's perfect composure finally cracked. You're pathetic, Marcus. Your business is failing, you can't provide for me, so I had to take care of things myself. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Order. Order in my courtroom. Judge Morrison's gavel echoed like thunder. Have you ever seen someone's true nature revealed in a moment of crisis? That's exactly what was happening as Bryn completely lost control. You want the truth? She screamed at Marcus. Your mother has been nothing but a burden since Harold died. Living in our house, eating our food, judging every decision we make. Marcus backed away from her like she was poisonous. I never said that. I never felt that way about Mom. Well, I did. And I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life taking care of some old woman while her money sat in the bank doing nothing. Judge Morrison studied the bank documents carefully. Mrs. Murphy, these wire transfers appear to be legitimate. Can you explain them? Sage stood up. Your Honor, if these transfers were made, they were done without Mrs. Murphy's knowledge or consent. This appears to be a case of financial fraud orchestrated by the daughter-in-law. That's impossible to prove, Bryn's lawyer interjected. Actually, it's not, a new voice said from the back of the courtroom. Everyone turned. A tall man in a FBI jacket walked down the aisle. Agent Rodriguez, Financial Crimes Division. We've been investigating suspicious offshore activity involving several elderly victims. My heart pounded. Victims? Mrs. Murphy, you're the 7th case we've seen with this exact pattern. Young woman marries into family, gains access to elderly relatives' finances, systematically drains accounts through fake medical expenses and offshore transfers. Bryn's face went white as a sheet. We traced the Cayman Islands account, Agent Rodriguez continued. It's registered to Bryn Marie Patterson. Her real name, not the fake identity she used to marry your son.
The courtroom gasped.
Marcus looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. Fake identity, he whispered. Bryn Patterson has been married 4 times in the past 10 years. Each time to men with elderly parents or relatives with substantial assets. Do you know what it's like to discover that everything about someone was a lie? That's what Marcus was experiencing as his world collapsed around him. Where are the other families?
I asked.
Agent Rodriguez's expression darkened. 3 of the elderly victims died under suspicious circumstances. All were placed in nursing homes shortly before their deaths. The room went dead silent. Mrs. Patterson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and suspicion of murder. As they handcuffed Bryn, she turned to Marcus with pure hatred in her eyes. This is all your fault, she spat. If you'd been a real man, if you could have provided for me properly, none of this would have happened. Marcus was crying now, real tears of grief and shame. Mom, he said, turning to me, I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting you. I thought you were getting confused, and Bryn was just trying to help. Do you know what it's like to see your child realize they've been completely manipulated? To watch them understand that they nearly destroyed their own mother for a lie? Judge Morrison cleared his throat. In light of these revelations, I'm dismissing all charges against Mrs. Murphy and revoking the emergency guardianship order. What happens to Marcus? I asked. Agent Rodriguez looked at my son with something like pity. That depends on his cooperation with our investigation. And on you, Mrs. Murphy.
Everyone looked at me.
The woman who'd been declared mentally incompetent an hour ago was now holding her son's future in her hands. The question was, after everything that had happened, could I forgive him? 2 days later, I sat across from Marcus in a small conference room at Sage's office. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. His eyes were red from crying, his hands shook when he reached for his coffee cup. Have you ever had to decide whether to save someone who nearly destroyed you? Someone you love despite everything they've done? That's the choice I faced as my son waited to hear if I would press charges against him. I keep thinking about Dad, Marcus said quietly. He warned me about getting involved with the wrong people. I should have listened. Harold saw things clearly, I agreed. He always said you had a good heart, but poor judgment. Marcus winced. I lost our house, Mom. The restaurant's bankrupt. I have nothing left except criminal charges and a marriage that was built on lies. Agent Rodriguez had explained everything. Bryn had targeted Marcus specifically because of my assets. She'd researched our family, learned about Harold's death and my inheritance, then orchestrated a chance meeting at the grocery store. She seemed so perfect, Marcus continued. Beautiful, interested in my dreams, supportive when the business started struggling. Predators are good at seeming perfect, Sage interjected. That's how they gain trust. Do you know what it's like to watch your child realize they've been expertly manipulated by a professional criminal? To see them understand that every moment of their marriage was calculated? The other families, I said. Tell me about them. Agent Rodriguez opened his file. Martha Chun, 78. Her grandson's wife convinced him his grandmother was losing her mind. They moved her to a nursing home, drained her accounts. She died 3 months later from what appeared to be an accidental overdose. My blood ran cold. Robert Williams, 81. Same pattern. Daughter-in-law claimed he was becoming violent and dangerous. Within 6 months, he was dead from a fall downstairs at the care facility. Marcus covered his face with his hands. She would have killed you. The pattern is clear, Agent Rodriguez continued. Isolation, financial control, then elimination once the money is secured. I looked at my son, really looked at him. Underneath the shame and grief, I saw the little boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard. The teenager who worked 3 jobs to help pay for college. The young man who held my hand at Harold's funeral. Marcus, I said softly. Look at me. He raised his head, tears streaming down his face. I know who you really are. You made terrible mistakes, but you were manipulated by an expert. The question is, what kind of man do you want to be going forward? I want to be better, he whispered. I want to make this right somehow. Then here's what we're going to do, I said, surprising everyone in the room. You're going to cooperate completely with the FBI investigation. You're going to testify against Bryn in court. And you're going to get counseling to understand how she manipulated you. And then you're going to spend the next few years earning back my trust. Not through words, but through actions. Agent Rodriguez frowned. Mrs. Murphy, are you saying you won't press charges? I'm saying my son was a victim too. A foolish victim who made terrible choices, but still a victim. Do you know what real strength looks like? Sometimes it's not about revenge. Sometimes it's about choosing mercy when you have every right to choose justice. There will be conditions, Sage added. Community service, financial restitution, supervised visits only. Marcus nodded eagerly. Anything. Whatever you want, Mom. What I want, I said firmly, is for you to become the man your father and I raised you to be. 1 year later, I was about to find out if that was possible. 12 months can change everything. As I stood in the kitchen of my new home, making coffee for two, I marveled at how different my life looked now. Have you ever discovered that starting over at 67 could be the best thing that ever happened to you? That sometimes losing everything helps you find what really matters? That's exactly what I learned in the year after my courtroom victory. The house was smaller than the one Harold and I had shared, but it felt more like home than anywhere I'd lived since he died. Ezra had helped me pick it out. Actually, Ezra had helped me with a lot of things over the past year. Coffee's ready, I called out to him as he finished reading the morning paper on the porch. Yes, Ezra and I had become more than friends. When you face danger together, when someone risks everything to help you, it creates a bond that's hard to ignore. At our age, we didn't have time to waste on playing games. Any word from Marcus? He asked, settling into the chair across from me. I showed him the text message I'd received that morning. 6 months sober today. Therapy is helping. Can I see you this weekend? Marcus had kept his word about everything. He testified against Bryn, helped the FBI identify her other victims, and was working to pay back the money she'd stolen. The bankruptcy had been hard on him, but it had also been a wake-up call. Are you ready to see him? Ezra asked gently. I think so. Sage says he's made real progress in counseling. The past year hadn't been easy for any of us. Marcus had lost everything, his wife, his business, his home. But he'd also found something, the truth about himself and what he really valued. Do you know what it takes to rebuild a relationship after betrayal? Time, patience, and the willingness to start over from scratch. There's something else, I said, pulling out a letter from my purse. I got this yesterday. The letter was from a young woman named Jennifer. Her story sounded familiar. Elderly grandfather, concerned family member pushing for a nursing home, missing money, forged documents. She wants my help, I continued. Says she heard about my case and thinks her family is going through the same thing. Ezra smiled. You want to help her? It wasn't a question. He knew me well enough by now to recognize that look in my eyes. I've been thinking about starting a support group, maybe working with Sage to help other families facing elder abuse. That's a wonderful idea. I have the time now, and the experience. And honestly, I need a purpose bigger than just my own recovery. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the morning sun filter through the oak trees in my backyard. A year ago, I'd been running for my life in the middle of the night. Now I was planning how to help others avoid the same trap. The doorbell rang, interrupting my thoughts. Through the window, I saw a young woman with desperate eyes and a nervous expression, clutching a manila folder. That must be Jennifer, I said, walking to the door. But when I opened it, the person standing there wasn't who I expected at all. It was a police officer, and the expression on his face made my heart stop. Mrs. Murphy? I'm afraid I have some news about your son. Have you ever had your heart stop and soar at the same time? That's exactly what happened when Officer Davis delivered news that changed everything once again. Mrs. Murphy, Your son Marcus was involved in an incident last night.
My knees almost gave out.
Ezra appeared beside me, his hand steady on my arm. What kind of incident? I managed to ask. He stopped a robbery. 3 men were attacking an elderly woman outside the grocery store. Marcus intervened, held them until we arrived. Relief flooded through me so fast I had to sit down. Is he hurt? Bruised ribs, black eye, but he's fine. The woman he saved is Mrs. Patterson, no relation to your former daughter-in-law. She's 79 years old, and those men were trying to steal her purse and grocery money. Officer Davis handed me a newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Local man saves elderly woman from attack." The photo showed Marcus, battered but smiling, standing next to a tiny gray-haired woman who was hugging his arm. "He asked me to give you this," the officer said, handing me a note in Marcus's handwriting. "Mom, I know I can't undo the past year, but I can choose who I want to be going forward. I hope this is a start. I love you." Do you know what it feels like when someone you love finally becomes the person you always knew they could be? When they stop talking about change and start living it? Ezra squeezed my hand. He's found his way back. "Mrs. Murphy?" Officer Davis continued. "There's something else. Mrs. Patterson has no family, and she's been having problems with someone trying to take advantage of her finances. She mentioned your case, said she'd heard you help people in similar situations." I looked at the note from Marcus again, then at the desperate young woman, Jennifer, still waiting on my porch with her folder of evidence. That's when I realized something beautiful. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't getting back at the people who hurt you. Sometimes it's using what they put you through to help others, to turn your pain into purpose. "Officer Davis, can you give Mrs. Patterson my phone number? Tell her I'd like to meet with her this week." "And Jennifer," I called to the young woman on my porch, "please come in. Let's see how we can help your grandfather." As they settled around my kitchen table, Jennifer with her evidence, Officer Davis with Mrs. Patterson's information, Ezra with fresh coffee for everyone, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years.
Peace.
Not the kind that comes from avoiding trouble, but the kind that comes from facing it head-on and discovering you're stronger than you ever imagined. 6 months later, I was running a support group for families dealing with elder abuse. Marcus had joined me as a volunteer, using his experience to help adult children recognize the warning signs of manipulation. Bryn was serving 15 years in federal prison for her crimes against multiple families. But the real victory wasn't in the courtroom or the prison sentence. It was in the phone calls from people who'd escaped dangerous situations. It was in the families who'd learned to spot financial predators before it was too late. It was in watching Marcus become the man Harold, and I had always hoped he would be. And it was in waking up every morning next to Ezra, knowing that sometimes the best chapters of your life begin when you think the story is over. Have you ever wondered what real strength looks like? It's not about getting revenge on the people who hurt you. It's about making sure they never get the chance to hurt anyone else again. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it's about discovering that love and purpose can bloom even in the darkest soil, especially when you're brave enough to plant new seeds and tend them with wisdom earned through surviving the storm.